after the Sotober appeal, which happens from the 1st of October to the end of October, which is the international Sotober event where people donate their old socks, new socks, kids' socks, right through to adult male socks, and that goes out to people without any socks or with people that had to survive in very wet socks, and it helps to stop foot injuries, and it also helps to keep feet healthy. So from the middle of October, we then launch a reverse advent calendar. That is to support our food bank appeal, which gives free food parcels to families that are in food poverty, and also individuals. That's on a referral basis, but the reverse advent calendar, the idea is rather than you opening a window on your advent calendar, you pop a food bank item into a box for the month of November or December, and then you donate it to us, and we then convert that, add to it, take away from it to make it into a family food parcel. That can be it's very achievable to do that in a church environment or a school environment, you know, hotels, pubs, local scout groups. It's very easy to put that in place, and if somebody is just bringing one item in, then it also is very achievable and affordable, and everybody achieves more. So the more people that are contributing to that, the more advent calendars they can fill. So some people do it as in a box where they will wrap it up in paper, put a bit of tinsel on it, and then when that box is full, they will donate it as a food parcel to give out to a family. Or you can go to a local supermarket, pick up the boxes that have got the 6 partitions in cardboard where wine bottles would have been. You can sellotape them all together and make that into an actual advent calendar and pop something in it each day, with ideas obviously to the people that you're actually asking, and it's really, really valuable to our food bank. So just after lockdown, the food bank here would have looked a lot different. So we would have had a very thin little passageway through here, and all our crates all the way along here would have been completely full of corned beef, tuna, tinned vegetables, tinned tomatoes, all the mainstay items that goes into a food parcel. Now, as you can see, they're pretty depleted, and they would be a lot more depleted if it wasn't for people still donating to PayPal, Just Givings, because our food shopping bill this week was £1,400 just to replace what the general public cannot afford to donate anymore. So moving on to our Christmas appeals, so going from the one we've just been talking about, we then move on to the Christmas shoebox appeal. That is designed for somebody who's either street homeless or somebody who lives on their own in very, very poor circumstances. They might not be able to afford their heating, they might be in temporary accommodation, and a shoebox appeal would give a series of suggestions. So it could be any size box you like, it doesn't have to be a shoebox. We've also extended it to little mini rucksacks. So whatever you choose to put your shoebox items in, we can make that and wrap it so that it will be given out to somebody, and this year they will actually be given out on Christmas Day because PATH will be open as normal. Christmas Day obviously falls on a working day to us, so we'll be giving those out on Christmas Day to people that come to us. So in a shoebox you would expect to see a nice warm hat, maybe a scarf, maybe a pair of gloves, definitely a pair of socks. You might see deodorant in there, you might see some sweets, some chocolate, it could have a notebook and a pen in it, all sorts of things, wet wipes, some things that people can use straight away. And those appeals actually go up on our Facebook page for the middle of October. At 4 o'clock every evening, guys will just start waiting across the wall. So we have the green bags here, and these ones will have sandwiches that we collect up from local bakeries every day. So we have volunteer collectors that will drive out to the bakeries and take their end of day surpluses. They'll have a packet of crisps in there. These are very valuable to us. We actually have a sandwich rota. So 3 members of the general public, most of which we've never even met, they will make us homemade sandwiches, which are really, really good because they're made fresh. And for somebody that hasn't got many teeth or they've got dental problems, a soft sandwich like that is a lot easier to eat than a baguette like this. And also in here we also have cakes. These are all packed up from local bakeries by our volunteers that work hard all day out in the kitchen. And then there might be a pie or a sausage roll in there as well. So that is what gets packed in today.
And how much does it cost you to put together one of those? Or
right,
how much
so
would it cost
all we would
possibly?
normally have, all we would expect to pay out of a bag like this would be the actual bags themselves. They're recyclable bags that we buy wholesale, and the crisps probably, even though some of our sandwich ladies very kindly donate big bags of crisps as well. So these are free dinner bags. People do not need a referral, but they're a really, really good open invitation where we can have conversations with people who are, if they find ringing up and asking for a food parcel a little bit daunting, a little bit embarrassing, or they don't understand the system, or they may not even have a phone to ring, we can then keep an eye on this situation and then we can introduce them so that they can get a food parcel at home. What these are super valuable for are people who at the moment are in fuel poverty. They can't even afford to put their fridges or freezers on, let alone putting their cookers on. So a food parcel would be no good for them. We've got an increasing number of people that are going into temporary accommodation. So we find that families will turn up for these. Because we refrigerate everything in the correct way, they are perfectly perfectly healthy then to give out to a family that is in temporary accommodation whose children need packed lunches to go to school for the next day. But the most important ones, and these are the life-saving ones, are the people who are rough sleeping. So they're now, we've just had a storm yesterday. We're going to be getting increasingly bad weather. This will give enough calories to help somebody survive through the night, and then when it comes to winter time, you'll find that we will increase the calories in the rough sleeper bags to make sure that they have enough calories to keep them going through the night till the next day.
Perfect.
You're gonna make me cry.
I know, we're going to set Cora
So
off
we
in a
find
minute.
that some of the sandwich makers, because they find it so emotional and they really do want to help, but they cannot donate their sandwiches here because they see who we're giving them out to.
Yeah.
They may have had family that have been rough sleeping themselves, families that may have died due to addictions. They can't help their child because they're too close to them and it hurts them too much, but they can help others in that situation.
Amazing. Can you tell us a bit about how the charity started as well?
Of course.
Yeah, so a
Yeah.
little bit of backstory.
Yeah, of course. So in Christmas 2015, there were a significant number of rough sleepers out on the streets. And it was myself and my daughter that set it up. We didn't have a clue what we were doing. All we knew that there was a massive injustice with the weather that we were seeing. People out partying at Christmas, all going to nightclubs, all going to Christmas parties, and yet we've got these guys watching them in the doorways with nothing, being ignored. We seem to have an awful lot of people who were just left very, very ill out on the streets. And so we just started off just by going and speaking to them. We were spending our own money, so all our Christmas money, all our holiday money, all our birthday money just literally went on going to the nearest Subway if somebody hadn't eaten anything, or for coffee. We then invested in some flasks. We then were going out every day. So by the time our launch day was January the 14th, we were up and running and going out every single night in all weathers, sometimes even spending our own money to put them into accommodation over the night, especially when we had a really bad storm that early spring, where we were getting guys that were actually had enough and they wanted to die. But of course that wasn't an option while we were out there. And so we definitely helped an awful lot, ringing for ambulances, flagging people up to housing, fighting their corners, being advocates for them, whatever we could. So we ended up on Spotted. and somebody anonymously put it up about this mother and daughter team out in all weathers. I wasn't even on social media at that time, and we got so many people getting in touch through my daughter's Facebook that we put it out to these people. Where would you like this to go? Do you want to form a proper group? Because that means that you have to be a bit more grown up, a little bit more responsible about it. We were aware that some of the things we were doing at that time probably weren't very good for health and safety rules. So we made a decision to get this support group around us, and by the summer we had formed a committee. We also had a charitable style bank account so we could actually collect money together responsibly. We also had set up the famous sandwich rota, which provides at least 50 or 60 sandwiches, 365 days, and it has never failed from the summer of 2016 up to today. That then meant that we had some money, which meant that we could then buy sleeping bags. Then we found out that Glastonbury, they were throwing them all away. So we actually got in touch with a hire company in Torbay, who then funded us and gave free vans to us to go up to Glastonbury and collect up sleeping bags, to which we would collect on average of about 200 sleeping bags through the afternoon, and at least about 80 to 100 tents, which we then were given a container by Daintons for 6 months where we could store it. So it was very, very small beginnings. We had no storage, we had no base to work off, it was purely mobile. Some of us grew quite a few sheds in our garden to start storing it. But then we were given Roebuck House building, which was under the empty building scheme, which meant that they would give it over to a charity while they were applying for planning permission, that kind of thing, for free. We then set up a community centre. We got the guys out on the streets to come in. They were painting the building. They made it their own. We were donated a kitchen for free. And we built it from that. We then had showers put in, local businesses would come in and put things like that in, and it became a really big thing very, very quickly. But unfortunately, they got planning permission, which meant that rendered us homeless. It went all over the papers very quickly. We didn't realise. It was so humbling that we had so much support. In the meantime, we were still saving lives. There were some very sad times. We lost quite a few of the guys that were very big characters at that time, which is always a real tragedy. But we did what we could, and that's all you can. You can just do your best and leave the rest. You know, we're not here to enable lifestyles, but we are here to help people move forward and always be unconditional, caring, loving, with no judgment. So anyway, so from that, the council were forced, I have to say, to give us some temporary accommodation. So you can see how PATH as a charity, we've also followed, as a charity, the journeys of some of the guys that come here.
Yeah.
We have been homeless, we've been on the streets, we've been in temporary accommodation, you know. Then we were taken in by a church and ran from their garage for a couple of days, and then they gave us a couple of rooms. And that's when we started doing hot food meals where people could sit down, socialise more. We also arranged for a local doctor's surgery to do yearly flu jabs from our building, which saves lives. And those were for our most vulnerable clients, people who are homeless, have addictions, anything like that, who would come for meals. So lots and lots of really, really important things were launched through the PATH, very, very humble little charity. So we're established now. We've been coming up for 9 years. But nevertheless, the face of PATH may have looked like it's changed. So now we're under the Torbay Food Alliance, which means that we work alongside about 12 different charities, all food related, and we've become a very integral, very, very important part of their food parcel referral system, which basically provides food parcels in emergency situations for families and individuals finding themselves in food poverty. In getting those food parcels, there's a whole network now where people can get help with mental health, domestic violence, help with benefits, help with youth grants going around. They've got access to the CAB, they have access to all of our services, which then helps them get them on their feet, so that finally they then move over to a supermarket module where they get 75% reduction on their items, which then helps them to make their own choices and start building their budgeting towards getting back on their feet properly without having to rely on free food. So it's a really, really good thing that Torbay is doing, and I'm really, really glad that PATH Torbay is part of that. But the other side of PATH Torbay always remains very, very humble. So we will always prioritise a rough sleeper that nobody else will help. We don't mind what their circumstances are. We are not there to judge that person's journey, because none of us know our whole each what makes us as we are today, you know, and it's nobody's business, to be honest. So we rarely ask unless somebody actually does reach out to us. Each and every one of our volunteers has been touched either with homelessness, domestic violence, PTSD, mental health problems. The list goes on and on and on. But each and every volunteer that works here knows the importance of consistency and never forgetting the reasons why we do it. All type of meals. So the ones at the far end would have come from Fair Share. So that would be a 2-person ready meal there. We've got our vegan soups down the bottom there. They're already frozen, ready for when we start giving away soup with our lunch meals and dinner meals. They were kindly donated wholesale. We can pretty much utilise everything as long as it's in date when it arrives. So this kind of thing, anybody will recognise that. We have to buy that in. We then have this kind of thing, which would have been frozen as it came in from a local supermarket, and then these kind of things are really invaluable for families which have come in from Fair Share. All right, but as you can see, again, our freezers are quite low.
Yeah.
Right, so in here, this is our vegan freezer. We were very lucky this week. We've got an awful lot of plant-based quiches, which is really nice. So again, those would go into not just a vegan food parcel, because apparently I've been told they are very, very tasty. And so they would then be given into as the frozen items for a normal food parcel. So things like that have got like a double value, if you like. And they're all over the place. And then we've got like little cheese here. Cheese is a very, very difficult one for us because we just don't get enough of it. I'd love to tell you that we get enough cheese, eggs, dairy products, but we don't. Right, so this would go to a family, and imagine getting one of those. Just imagine getting one of those, and those children, they turn up with their parents to get their food parcels, and my grandchildren, they get very bored shopping. These children get so overexcited, it's humbling. It's absolutely, it really is.
Will you try and give that to someone who's maybe told you there's a birthday coming up or something like that?
We always try and freeze whatever we can.
Okay.
For those situations. If it's a food parcel that's come through the Torbay helpline, and they've told them on the phone that there's a child's birthday or a mum's birthday. Mums are important too. We will always try and put a box of chocolates or a cake or both if we've got them. But supplies are really, really low at the moment. I mean, at one time we got given, I think it was 78 cases with 4 in a case, 3 in a case of dairy milk chocolates. Oh my gosh. Giving out those was just so wonderful. But unfortunately, we're in different times. You know, supermarkets are cutting down on what they're ordering in and their wastage. So we're seeing drops in that as well. So the more support we can get to get through this meagre time, the better, really. We also get things like we freeze our tofu. Again, it's a really good thing for people to be able to, this this is a good one. So some companies, more cheese there. So these were good ones. These are really valuable to us. So these came from a company that were doing a Devon County show.
Right,
it was a trade event, and the more of this kind of stuff we can get, the better. So these would get defrosted. We had a whole freezer of them, and then they've gradually gone down. But they're ultimate almond brownies, and they would have probably gone in the bin, and we had stacks of them. And our volunteers will defrost them. They'll put them into little bags. They'll seal them, and then those go out as a nice little extra in their dinner bags, as an example. So, you know, we can pretty much utilise anything.